A very good evening, everyone. Hope you all are having a safe and healthy stay during the critical stage of the nation. That's why we are so excited to bring you the first edition of Colombo Rovers Scouting Webinar Series. I'm Nilukshan Krishnaram, your moderator for the evening. I'm the Secretary of 7th Colombo District Rover Group, and I'm happy to be hosting the session today. I'm pleased to introduce you to our speaker for the evening, Mr. Dushyanth Weeraman, Sri Lanka's one of the leading R&B and hip-hop singer, dancer, and actor. His These are very event, a dance or art group performance troupe. He was a scout, senior prefect, and an excellent sportsman while he was schooled in Royal College, Colombo. Dushyanth entered the silver screen playing the lead role in his debut movie, Dancing Star. He won the 10 Outstanding Young Persons of Sri Lanka Award in 2013 for his contribution to music, art, culture, and media. A person who doesn't require an introduction. Let's give it up for Dushyanth Weeraman. Good evening,
Hello,
Mr.
how are you?
Dushyanth. I'm really
Good
good.
evening to you.
How are you? How are you holding up during this crisis situation?
Doing very well, very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So before I hand it over to Mr. Dushanthan, I'd like to let you know that this webinar will be available on demand after the live session. And last, we'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social networks. Crash that share button. So without further ado, I'll just hand it over to Mr. Dushant Weeraman. Dushant, over to you.
Hello, hi Niluksha and Nilukshan. Yeah. Thank you for having me here. And it's somewhat exciting to do a webinar for the first time in my life, and I'm happy to talk about things that most youngsters uh, want to hear and to find out, because in this very competitive world, it is a very trendy and a fashionable thing to ask someone whom you think is successful in life as to how to be successful as well. And it's been a very, very popular subject, and it's something that I always um, thought we should see differently in terms of what is success, and how to be success, and what this whole uh, path of being success. So let me just start off by saying I went to Royal College, and I have not been to any other school. So from kindergarten to A levels, I've been at Royal. I've been, let's say, somewhat a popular kid, I would say, playing a lot of sports. I was the overall house captain for Hartley, and I did um, cricket, rugby, athletics was one of my favorites, and I was in 10 clubs and societies, um, especially in the media section and all that, and was always into my singing and dancing and performances, which were organized by the Interact Club. And so I would say I was a guy who was always very much involved with something or the other at any given time, whether it was a school holiday or during school times. I was a very, very busy student. I think that also somewhat gave me the temperament to be always seeking for something greater, something to be successful, something that pleases you in life. And then after leaving school, being a student, then a prefect, of course, while doing all that, I did a bit of scouting as well. I was a first class scout, and then moved on to being a senior scout. Um, which is one of the more reasons why I'm actually being here. little little mishap. Forgot to tell you about that. So right after school, I actually did a higher national diploma in IT, and believe it or not, yes, I did IT, and this was a time that obviously, as a young 20-year-old, I was looking for, you know, looking for, it's a popular thing, a purpose in life. Looking for a purpose in life, figuring out what is best for me to become. Always having a dream of being a sportsman or a singer in mind. Being a singer or a sportsman would not be a very lucrative thing, or very it would be very risky, in other words. So I was also looking for many things, and then joined Mercedes Benz. Even I had done a high national diploma in IT, and then while I was there, I understood, yeah, as long as you put your mind to anything, um, you find the passion to it. And the more you get yourself involved with something, and the more you understand what you're doing, and more that you get fluent in whatever you're doing, is when you build, when you have passion. And then once you have passion, it's pretty much very easy to be successful in anything. So most seminars you go to, you will hear the fact, and you hear many speakers talking about being passionate about being one of the main ingredients to be successful. But I haven't even come to the explanation of what is success, and how much we should seek it. Because when we just we've got started, I was told by Nilukshan that the listeners today or tonight will be more interested to find out a formula or certain things that I've done in my life as to how to be successful. And I appreciate the the introduction given as such and such and such and such and such and thing. But I do have a different take in life in terms of being successful. It is important in this very man-made materialistic world to be successful, but I do have another take on that. But however, as per your interests, I will explain to you how I did things to be successful, if so called.
Very well, Mr. Dushyanth. So, Dushyanth Weeraman, you are a person who is idolized by the music speaking youth in Sri Lanka. So, was this your passion all way long since you started from your school?
Yeah, of
Uh,
course. Singing was always a huge passion. Something I started off performing was when I was about 14 at the Royal College Talent Show. And I was a typical teenage kid who liked Michael Jackson back in the 80s and 90s. 80s born guy, right? So everybody
yeah.
liked Michael Jackson, but just the fact that he was such a controversial personality, not everybody would, after 1993, not everybody would be very open about liking Michael Jackson, or or there was a lot of misunderstanding of this person. So because of that, I would say um, I used to practice all my singing and my dancing indoors in my bedroom very privately. So yes, that was a very secretive thing, but yes, I did have that passion to always become a singer. Yeah. Okay.
We all have been there. We are keeping our dreams very secretive and
Correct.
within those four walls. Yeah. So what did you do during your school days? You have already mentioned that you've been a sports person, a senior prefect, and also you did scouting at 42nd Colombo, my troop, to be very specific. So
Oh,
how
cool.
did those experiences molded you to become a scout, become a successful musician?
Okay. You see, uh, scouting becomes so important to a person who has learned about scouting to its life, because the motto of scouting says everything. When Baden Powell says a scout is to be prepared, he meant to be prepared, not just to be prepared in a difficult situation, but just to be prepared to life. And one must understand difference between being prepared and being ready. For instance, like if something happens right now and there's a person who is at the door, uh, and my wife comes and asks me, uh, Dushyanth, are you there's someone at the door, can you open the door? Are you ready to open the door? I would be like, okay, I'm ready to open the door. But actually, I am not prepared for it. So even though I am ready to proceed with the opening of the door to a person, I have certain things to adjust even though I'm ready to execute it. So being prepared is a person is more than being ready. And that's the core thing that you actually that I've learned in scouting, is that if you want to be prepared, you have to be always thinking ahead. You need to have a plan. You need to have data which you have turned into information. You need to have knowledge. You basically have so many things prepared to be executed in a difficult time in certain circumstances in life, than just being ready to take on life. So there is always a lot of preparation. If you're just wanting to be a singer, the difference of a singer who is just ready to be a singer and a person who is prepared to be a singer is that a person who is ready to sing will have a lot of passion and interest to sing, and they'll be like, okay, I'm ready, so let's write a song. I'm ready, so um, let's compose, let's get into it, let's do it. But a, an artist who is prepared to do a song will have so much more preparation done, so many things done prior to getting into action. That person would have read so many lyrics, heard, listened to so much of music, studied a bit of music, understood what the strings can do, what the horns can do, what the vocals can do, what the drums can do. So there'll be so much knowledge of a person who has preparation than a person who is just ready to get something done. So yes, scouting was a great thing for me because from I think I was just about 12 years old when I joined the 42nd group of Colombo. And so from that tender age, I would say just before being a teenager. So at Royal, being a scout, we were taught to be prepared. So I find that being a very, very successful formula, successful ingredient in this formula to be successful, because you forecast so many things, you read so many things, and then you get into the business. So you vision it. In marketing, we understand, we have in the first year itself, they'll teach you in marketing you need to have a vision, and then you have a mission for it, and then you execute, then you go into your the after it's all about the vision and then the mission. So this is what preparation is all about. And that's what scouting did that to me, and I'm so grateful. And I think everybody should, even if you're not a scout or a guide or girl guide or whatever, I think you need to be prepared to life. Even these times that we have, the difficult time that we are having, maybe China is doing so well, maybe because they were actually prepared than anybody else. And America, being such a giant of this whole world, was not prepared, and they would have been ready. Obviously, when Bill Gates spoke about uh, an epidemic a few months ago, uh, everyone understood. Yes, he is talking about something in the future, but nobody expected it to be something so close. So none of most people in America did not get prepared for it. I mean, now they are taking action. Yeah, a little too late.
So, thank you, Dushyant, for that wonderful explanation. So, as a youth, you might have faced any challenges. As a youth, I could relate to that to myself because I am myself uh, am in a challenging situation right now during this quarantine phobia, I would say. So, following your passion, you would also would have faced many challenges because if you want to become a singer, if you have the readiness to become a singer, as you said, you uh, just don't need to be ready, you also need to be prepared, as you
Correct.
mentioned. So while
Like
you are
I've come
being
across so
prepared,
many people. Sorry, I've come across so many people and who want to be musicians, singers, and certain musicians, singers who are already in the business, in the Western music industry, and even in the single music industry. I've even come across so many people wanting to, who are so much more talented than I am. I could be, but they seem to be not getting themselves out there successfully. It's just that the main reason being I don't see them having much preparation. They don't foresee how. So probably what you're trying to say, ask me now is that what are the difficulties and things like that. What are the challenges as a youth? You see, the youth is a very confusing or very challenging period in your life because that's just when you're old enough to think you know a lot, and also stupid enough to not know that you don't know much at all. you know so even in my 20s to 25, I used to think, you get into, you go to the world and you think, you seem to be having more lingo and more understanding the society than your parents and your uncles and immediate, whoever the people who are just about 10 years older than you. But then you hit 25, 30 and understand, ooh, what I was thinking while I was 25 was absolutely ridiculous to even think of, of the thought process. So it's a very challenging time. The youth is a very challenging time because it's a time that you um, start to um, experience in reality all the things that you heard in your school life. So you tend to start a business, you tend to start your high education, or maybe you can start your own, you can be an entrepreneur, and all those things you learned in school starts becoming a practical and a reality. So it could be very challenging because there are street smart kids who still outshine you so much better simply because they've had a like a experience before, just being than just a person who has come out of school. So yeah, there are challenges. You meet new people, you have new theories, you meet new people, but one thing important is you need to know where you want to focus. It is very, for me, one of the successful times was when I was at Mercedes Benz, where I had to do a SWOT analysis for Mercedes Benz. And I thought, okay, I was also doing my CIM at the time and I was studying marketing. I thought, okay, this is fun. And we actually got some very good results at the Mercedes Benz department by all of us in office doing a SWOT analysis, then exchanging our results. Then I thought, okay, this is very interesting. My company, my department is doing. We found like so many answers and things like that. Then I thought, okay, maybe I should do a SWOT analysis of myself. So, being very truthful to me, to myself, I wrote down certain things which were my strengths, my weaknesses, my opportunities, and my threats. And then I found out, okay, there are things that which was in the top of the list, and there was certain it was on top of the list of the strengths and top of the list of the weaknesses, but not necessarily my life was focused on those things. Like for instance, if it was let's say singing or dancing or performing as a strength, as the top of the list of my strengths, I was not focusing myself so much on those things because my focus was more on my sales and my marketing and things like that. And as same way it was applied to the weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And I realized, okay, certain things which are right on top I'm not focusing, and that my focus as a youngster, I was focusing somewhere else, because as a youngster the challenge is that you are put to this world and you're experiencing so many new things, you tend to miss out the real things you need to be focusing during that age. I think that's the challenge. So once I did a sort analysis of myself, very true, very true, I didn't want to even show it to anybody else because there were certain ridiculous things as well. And but still I just did it for myself so I could understand who I really was. And that was then after I figured out, okay, this is my strength, this is my weakness, this is my certain opportunity, and it was very much less challenging for me to make that decision as to what I was supposed to do in life. Then of course it complemented my passion and certain things like that, and I felt like I was a much happy person by pursuing certain things. So as a teenager, if you are having challenge, I mean as a youngster, if you're coming across these challenges, I think what one of the secrets are to do a SWOT analysis of yourself.
That's very brilliant, Dushan. Dushan, as you are aware, in scouting, there are things called proficiency badges. It
Yeah,
will, yeah, it will find the proficiencies of each scout individual, whether
correct,
they are good in linguistical knowledge or dancing or music and all. So
correct.
the biggest thing that they have to overcome in order to gain that proficiency award is stage fear. So you are an entertainer, so you
Hmm.
have seen many stages in your career and your lifetime. So what would you suggest for these young scouts in order to overcome their stage fear or stage phobia?
Okay, this is a very, very simple thing to do, but most people don't know how to do it. So I shall explain. Okay,
Please, please.
if you think of a person who is well experienced on stage compared to a person who's not been on stage at all, right? Whom do you think will be nervous? Obviously, the
Mm,
person who is new to stage will be
yes,
nervous,
no to
and
the
the
stage,
person
yes.
who has been on stage will not be nervous or less nervous, right? Okay, now let's see what is the main difference between these two. One has experience, one has absolutely no experience of the
Yes,
stage. So the person who has been on stage, he's probably less nervous because if something happens to him, if something bad or if something wrong happens to him while he's performing, through his experience, he may know certain things to do right after a certain situation, because he will think about what could be done and just apply it with confidence because he has so much experience and knowledge about the place. So the person who knows where he is going shouldn't be afraid, no? Like for instance, let's say you're Niluksha, you're going to your bedroom during the daytime,
okay.
right? Would you be afraid to go to the bed, to your own bedroom during the daytime?
In most
I
cases,
guess not.
not.
I mean, most cases not, right? But let's assume that you're going to your bedroom on a night that there has been no electricity at all. So now you're outside your house, you're coming home after school at 9:30 in the night because of some drama, and there is no current. and you go to your, and now you're in your safe zone. From that situation, you come to your house, and now you're going into your bedroom. Will you be as confident as you were during the daytime? Going into your, this is your very safe zone. This is your home, and this is your bedroom. There's no place then safer than that place. During the daytime, you are complete, but simply because it's in the night, and because of your unknown, because you're unknown to what is in your room, you could be not as confident as much as you were during the daytime. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I wouldn't even
Absolutely.
step into my house.
Yeah, it's simply because, so the here, the fear is only because you're not known to what is in your bedroom. But by having light, you know what there is. So having experience and not having experience is very similar. So when you're an experienced person, you know how it could be on stage, you know how most crowds are going to react, you know how most audiences are going to react, you know where the equipment are kept, you know, understand, okay, which part of the stage is upstage and downstage and things like that. You understand the acoustics in a hall, you understand, you have the feel of it. So the more you understand, you that more you're aware of life, right, is when you don't have fear. So when you ask me about nervousness is definitely a certain type of fear. It's certain type of fear, is certain type of negativity that you put into your head, thinking, okay, what will happen to me if I do this? Okay, will I trip my phone? Will I forget my song? Will I sing a bad note? Things like that, and that's what makes you nervous, right?
Yeah.
So the more you put you fill your mind with negativity and doubt and fear, is when you become nervous. But an experienced person, even if those thoughts come to, will I forget my lyrics? They'll be like, yeah, I've done this so many times. Well, forget my lyrics, maybe I'll look at my phone. You think of those things because you're an experienced person, don't worry about those things. So now let's see how a novice who feels nervous not feel nervous. All you have to do is, if you do not have the experience, if you do not have the experience, and this is what I did. So when I got on stage, even now, if I'm getting up on stage, I would do my performance, which I'm supposed to do in the next half an hour, next 15 minutes, or in the next minute, right? Just before I get on stage, I perform my songs over and over and over again in my head. Let's say this. Okay, I've performed so many times at Nelumpokta, right? It's a big stage, right? Now let's say
Yes.
it's another big show. We're going there, BNS is performing, this one, that one, everyone is performing, right? You know what I do? I've seen artists coming, and still certain artists actually feeling, uh, some experienced artists also feeling a bit nervous. But do you know what I do? I go and do a little peek from the curtains, and I look at the crowd who is in the audience. I look at them while others are performing, and I try to read, okay, what type of audience it is. So without being ignorant about my audience, I try to get my knowledge, and then I try to think of the audience in my head, how they will react to me, and I will say, okay, I'm gonna walk like this, I'm gonna talk like this, I'm gonna put this joke, and I'm gonna, and in my head I will have it, oh, the audience reacting to my jokes, reacting to my performance. And then I'll be like, okay, what if this happened, what am I going to do? So what I'll do is, I'll have my perform before I actually perform. I will perform about 150 times in my head, doing different things. Now you can imagine how much of experience of my performance to be is already in my head. So when I have about 150 different types of performances in my head, which is 100 times of performing of experience of that particular show, which is supposed to happen in the future, can you imagine me being nervous anymore? I feel like I've already done 150. I've done already 150 shows. It's just a matter of going and doing my 151st show. So this is one of my secrets. So if you feel nervous, get that negativity out. And that's a part of being a scout as well, because that's a preparation I do. So that's being prepared. It's not just being ready. Okay, if I'm just being ready, I'll be like, okay, give me the mic, I'll go and sing. Okay, I'm ready to sing. But then I wouldn't have been prepared to to sing and perform. You see the difference? So if you're
True.
feeling nervous, always relive relive what you're supposed to do over and over again in different types of stories, in different types of circumstance, different type of place, with different type of people, different type of, make it different and put challenges in your head. And if there are negativity, and figure out solutions for it in your head, and then you'll be like so prepared. That's the word. You'll be so prepared. I'll give you an example. So at the Citizen Dancing Star final, right? um, during my second act during my second act, it was a 5.5 minute track, and at about 30 seconds or 1.5 minutes, the track completely stopped. Can you believe this is the Citizen Dancing Star final, viewed by 12.8 million people in Sri Lanka, right? And I'm at a live audience at BMICH, and the dance track stopped. It just stopped. It just froze, right? My dance partner, and there was a whole troupe dancing with me. Everybody was like, didn't know what to do. You know what I did? I started singing from the point it stopped, and everybody thought it was a part of the act. And even my dance partner and the troupe were like, okay, this is some surprise that Dushyanth is giving. you know we are supposed to just keep on dancing, so we just kept on dancing. And then of course, when everybody was thinking it was a part of the act, then I stopped it and I told the crowd, guys, as you can see, there's a technical difficulty, but we'll be back. So everyone is like thinking, whoa, this man, like, held the problem so pretty well. It's simply because it was the experience in my head. It's just things that I have done over and over, like having this in a situation like that, thinking that I need to be ready for anything. With that preparation, that frame of mind is what clicked me. Okay, track stop. You don't stop. Keep entertaining. You're a showman. You're supposed to be on stage. This is the final. You can't look lost. You have to show that you're on top. So Dushyant, you gotta perform, and that's all I had in my head. So and I was thinking, hopefully, these guys who are behind me will follow me, and that's exactly happened. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's what is great about being prepared.
That was a wonderful experience from you, Mr. Zishan. So, as you can see here, one of our audience has raised a question. So, the question
Yeah.
is from Ubaidur Rahman Shiraj. Hi, Ubaidur Rahman. So, he has asked here, what are the platforms that you developed your skills of you? I think
Oh
I'll
boy.
rephrase it. What are the platforms that you use to develop the skills of you?
You see, your question is very vague. It's very hard for me to understand. When you say the skills of youth, like getting girls, what are you trying to say? Because youthful, because as long as you are, healthy mentally and physically, I think that's youth, right? So you could be a 50-year-old, you could be a 30-year-old, you could be a 15-year-old. Your youth, but skills do differ. 15-year-old skill and a 30-year-old skill and a 50-year-old skill will be different. So I need to know exactly what you're saying by platforms to the development of skills of youth.
So I believe since
What
he's
kind
a
of what kind of skill
scout,
are you
we
talking about?
since maybe he is coming from a scouting background, maybe a skill which is required from the age group of 13 to 18.
13 to 18 skills interested for a 13 to 18 year old would be to be good at sports, making new girlfriends. Okay, I think I'm just joking. All right, so let me say. Okay, it's a very uh, difficult question to answer because you're saying skills of youth. So you're looking at a very big spectrum of possibilities, what's in your head. But I'm thinking you're talking about just being better at things, right? So obviously, um, application
Maybe in
in
professional life.
whatever skill. Yeah, so basically application is one of the key things. To date, I cannot play an instrument, and I hate myself for it. And I know I'd love to play it, and I have tried a few times, but it's just that I'm hopeless in application. I don't apply myself to play on a guitar for 4 hours for a day. I don't play the piano 2 3 hours a day. But the thing is, and that's something for you to learn, is if you want to be skilled in something, you cannot expect to be developed in that if you don't apply, right? And like for instance, I love to sing and dance, and that's something I applied all my life, and today, I'm doing that as my profession. So application is a very very important thing. And of course, don't get distracted. Distractions are always there. Okay, you know what, this is a very very vast question, spread out question. So let me give you a blanket answer for this. Okay, if you want to be skilled and successful in life, there are two major things that a human has to excel in. That's the very famous thing called IQ. So basically, that's your intelligence of being able to fix things, figure things out, to realize certain things, to conceptualize. So that's basically everything is upon your intellectual. So this is what, in a normal our educational system, that's what they are always checking out our IQ. They are trying to feed in. Yeah, we are trying to do arithmetic, physics, chemistry, and all of those things, and then we come back to applying certain things so that we have learned in our this intelligence in life, in certain careers. But a very very important thing that you can actually get from a school, get from a school like Royal, is that you need to develop your emotional intelligence as well, which is also known as EQ these days. So basically, IQ is something that you're being intellectual and intelligent about something, and I emotional intelligence is more known as EQ, is when you are able to make decisions upon an emotion versus your intelligence. So statistics will say so many people are having a certain let's say there's uh, let's take the problem of corona, right? Statistically, there might be a situation where there are trends of corona being infected and how it's inclining its deaths and the spread of it. But certain countries will have that similar way of spreading it, but because of the way that the people behave in those different societies, the results of the coronavirus spreading will be different. You can't apply the same tactic of fighting corona in the USA like they did it in China, like they did it in, or you can't do that in Hong Kong or in Singapore, or definitely not in Africa. So just because you have intelligence of certain things, just applying your intelligence is not going to be enough, because you need to be able to find the solution through emotion as well. For instance, let's say that we have employees coming to work, they have a certain amount of responsibilities, and they have leave, and there's a certain system running in a company. A great leader will not be the person who would say, okay, this is the rule of the company, this is the time we start, this is the time we finish, these are the leave that we have, these are your responsibilities. A real leader will not expect everybody to be responsible and following rules of a company as it is. A great leader, I would say, would understand the emotion, different emotions of his all his employees, and understand, okay, the guys who are doing finance, they have this way of thinking, they this way of applying themselves, and this way of taking responsibilities, taking duties. But at the same time, the sales guys would be operating differently. Their incentive to work is different, their passion to work is different, the way that they want to apply themselves is different. So when you're if you want to be successful in life, just having intelligence is not enough. Just having intellectual intelligence is not enough. You need to be emotionally involved. You should be able to uh, find solutions emotionally as well, seeing, feeling it emotionally. So that should be a blanket answer for developing skills of a youth. So just don't think, that. And how you can develop your emotional intelligence is by hanging out with people, doing extracurricular activity, playing sport, you know associating different societies. And because if you're just going to be, going to school, then to the library, and then with a little circuit of friends, and playing safe, only associating with your siblings and your parents, you might have a lot of intelligence because you have a lot of time to study, which is in the textbooks, but you will not have that emotional intelligence which will excel you when you once you go to the society. So if you want to be a skillful youth that's going in to become a responsible successful person, just don't think you can do it not having emotional intelligence. I think you got what I said, yeah?
Thank you. Yeah, I hope Ubaidul Rahman has got his answer, even though the question was a bit little tricky. So we have got another question from our Facebook
Okay.
audience. So this is from MTM Shajan.
MTM Sajan. How Sajan will be molded as a better person with your strengths. You will see, I have these top three strengths. If I apply these things, I need to do major changes in my life, right? Maybe not, maybe you have to. And then you'll figure out, okay, these are the changes I need to module myself as a new person with these strengths. And weaknesses, what you do is, when you understand these weaknesses are always dragging you back in life, and you have accepted yourself by writing these down on a piece of paper as your weakness, it's very easy for you to start working on reducing your weaknesses, right? So be conscious about it, right? Be conscious about your weaknesses and stop doing it. So if you have a bad habit, make sure you take a minute of the day to stop the habit. Next day you take 2 minutes, next day you take 3 minutes to stop the habit. So likewise, your suddenly your weaknesses will reduce. The interesting about the opportunities and threats are, so opportunities are something that you have to work for. Once you see an opportunity, if you just sit and wait, you're just going to lose it, right? So once you see those opportunities, do a calculated approach and go for it. And the funny thing about threats are, mostly all threats are also opportunities. And I love doing that. So let's say that you are in a class and there's a guy who doesn't like you, and he's always bullying you, he's teasing you, or he's not letting you do something. You need to figure out a way where you convert his negative energy, which is a threat to you, that applies to becoming your opportunity. So maybe you can challenge him or give him a task that he starts feeling that whatever that he's doing to make you feel bad is not going to work, and then making him realize that he just, of being no use, being active on that threat. Maybe without just trying to attack him, you can explain to him, Machan, this is what you're doing. Do you have any other issue with me, or is it some other issue you have that you're taking out on me? But if you have a problem with your, probably your domestic, you have some problem, maybe I can help you with that. So you can make him understand it is because of his suffering that he's just being a threat to you. And now suddenly your threat has understood, oh, Sajan is such a nice, I've been bullying him so much, but today he's coming to, you know, he's giving me a shoulder to cry on and he's helping me out. And now that person who was a threat to you is an opportunity. So you find your strengths and weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, apply your strengths on your skills, on your new things, on your new ventures, new things that you want to do in on intellectual things and emotional things. Work on your weaknesses, find out your weaknesses and put time to reduce them. Opportunities, make a calculated approach and go for it. A threat, find them and make an opportunity out of it.
Thank you so much, Dushyanth, for that extensive analysis on how to do a SWOT analysis. So I ask you a final question.
Yeah.
So let's just say hypothetically, you are finding a time machine, or you meet a time traveler who can take you to the past. What would you intend to change in your past so that uh, it can modify or mold your future or make it even better? Would you
Oh,
take
just
that
in
as
this
a
lifetime, or can I go really back to the past, or just in my lifetime?
that depends because in time traveling science you can go anywhere, yes, in your lifetime, yes.
I'll go and meet Buddha.
Wow.
I would like to meet Buddha. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and if you let's just say if you are revisiting your past, what would you like
Hmm.
to extract from your past so that you can give it as an advisory or an explanation to the scouts who are watching this live, so that they can become a better person in future?
You see, Nilukshan, you just opened up a very, very interesting area for me. Sad, this is like the last bit. I would have taken hours to explain this to you. You see, when you say to go to the past and extract something, you see, that's because you're taking this as a time travel. You see, for me, I see the past, the future, and the present as being the same thing. To me, you see, when before I was explaining to you how I would relive so many times the performance which I'm going to do in the next moment, yeah. So it's just a matter of I have already lived the future in my head in so many different ways, and I'm only going to start doing which I have already done, which is my past in that sense. So basically, for me, the past and the future is always in the present. So if I'm going to extract something, um, I would always say, you see, the funny thing, there's nothing to extract. You see, everything that you think that you have learned in the past or that's happened in the past is just a thought within yourself that you think that is in the past. Just imagine you think what you want to do in the future, the same thing that you have experienced, that you think you have experienced in the past. Just imagine the same thing happening in the future. Isn't that the future then? So it's just a matter of exchanging thoughts. It's kind of hard for me to explain this to you, uh, but I'm a guy. I'm a person who is always. I certainly don't live in the past, and I certainly don't live in the future. I I like to live in the present, and it doesn't have to actually have happened in your life. You can imagine something happening, or you can. So that's the world is just open. So there's nothing for me to extract or uh, cut out, because I want to cut out something in my life. I just cut it out. It's just in my mind, I just think it's just happen, and if it's bothering me, it's because it's still happening. And if I'm only thinking about it, it's still happening. uh, so it doesn't matter whether it happened 100 years ago, yesterday, or just 10 years ago while I was in school. It's just something that happened, so it's still in my mind. So I hope you don't mix up what I said. But what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't change anything in life. I wouldn't change anything because I like the way I think. I like the way I function right now. I like the experiences I've had. So now I have learned from it, and I know how to deal with it, and I know how to go forward. I've had fantastic experiences. I've had terrible experiences, and the best thing for me is that I've learned something out of it. I don't hold on to it saying that, oh, that happened, that's my past, and even if it's somebody else's, and that's what I have learned. So there's nothing for me to extract from the past, or there's nothing for me to keep for the future. I love to live today. I love to live today now. That's me.
Thank, thank you so much, Dushan. And it's time to wrap up all the webinar thing. But there's a fan request, I guess, from beloved Rover. How's it goes? Dushyanth Weeraman, can you song for us?
Okay, so before we close up, I'll just tell you something, because you were talking about the past, and then we came into my explanation of the living in the present. So let me tell you something. You know, with all the introduction that you did to me, like royalist, scout, singer, dancer, 10 outstanding young persons, award winner, and all that, right? But just look at the time that we are in right now. Does any of that matter? Any of what you have, even your scarf or your hairstyle or the place your father's income or the place you're staying, none of it matter right now. We all are just the same, isn't it? So all what we need to
Yes.
do is not think too much about you know ourselves. And it's honestly, it's a time for us to think about us and we, right? So which is why, even though I have seen a lot of celebrities, influencers, and you know coming up on their social media, because everybody's just following, singing and doing all of those things. But that's fine. But we need to progress with time. We can't be living in the past. Yes, it's a time that we all are stuck at home, but we have to understand corona, this virus has gone from just a foreign disease to a worldwide spread pandemic. And it's now come to Sri Lanka. It's come to a point where we are staying at home. So before, we would think we were just entertaining ourselves. Even I did it. I came alive, I was explaining things, take it easy, be safe, wash your hands, da 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 da. Then everybody did understand that. But I felt like after that, people had to understand how to be um, prepared, how to be cautious of all this. And we were talking about prevention, and then we were talking about prevention as much as now. I think it has come to a point where we need to talk about survival, sustenance, because now I think everybody knows about washing hands. I think everybody knows about social distancing. Everybody knows about self isolation, quarantining, airports being closed, and curfew. But now I think we are coming to the point where we need to be concerned about our sustenance and our stability, because uh, most people in the city are probably getting food, and in the city who have been doing day jobs, they are not getting food. So even though us who have a bit of money to use a smartphone and engage in this, upper middle class life, we might not be understanding that we are living in a very poor country. And it is also time for us to now think about others, because if you do not think about them at this point, um, they are gonna soon be out of their houses on the streets, robbing, threatening, and not caring anything in the world of what the curfew law is. They are going to be screaming out for food and for their lives and their kids and their families. So, why I brought this up now is because we were talking about the past, present, and the future now just a little while ago. I was talking about it. So why I said we need to always live now, live in the present, is because we have to always understand how we should be according to the present. The past, just a few weeks ago, yes, celebrities to everybody got on live and did all things, but right now I think this is time that we need to promote helping each other. I mean, it's nice of you to ask me to sing a song, and I'm not saying I won't sing it, but I'm just saying this is also a time for us to think about the poor people who are not getting food. And I urge to everybody listening to this, and to, if you all have other influencers, other artists that you all like, send them a message and say, because we need these people who are influencers now in society to spread this good word, to help each other. That's the now, that's the present. The present is not your Mercedes Benz car dream, or your promotion in your job, your success. Right now we have a nation that's suffering from um, an epidemic, so which was worldwide. So it's this is why I say it's important to be in the now. When you're always living in the now, you will always make a better decision. If you're always just thinking of the future, oh, this is my future and all that, you are not living in the present. And people who are always thinking about where they came from, their ancestors, or the good or the bad, which is in the past, that's when they are going to be miserable in life or misled in life, because they are living in the past. It's very important that we live in the live in the present. So be responsible. Look around you. Think about what is happening to you and your country and around you. I know because of curfew, most of us can't get out of our house or even help each other, help others who are in need. But if you really apply yourselves, you could be successful in this matter as well. If you apply to think, what can I do to help somebody in need, you trust me, you will come up with an idea, you will come up with a solution. So live in the present. Don't spend this time planning future. Don't spend this time at home just thinking how your past was. Think now, think present. Think how you can, this is exactly, in my opinion, this is how you can be successful in life, and more importantly, you can be satisfied, right? So I actually did, so why I'm saying this is, like, when we got started, yes, there was entertainment, and then there was all this explanation of how to be cautious, and then now we are talking about sustenance and survival. So let's think about those things and encourage everybody else. Good luck to you, Nilukshan, and all the scouts and everybody else who's listening. And all I can say is, if you want to be a successful person in life, that is just a selfish thought. Don't ever think of that, because how successful you are, the day that you reach the top, you will feel so alone, because for you to be number one, successful in be number one, you need to beat everybody else. And trust me, when you're on that number one position, you will be alone and you will feel lonely. So success is not that of a great thing, right? So Do not miss out on certain things that's going to make you satisfied in life, because satisfaction is something that only you can judge for yourself. Success is something that you cannot judge for yourself, but everybody else around you will judge upon you, which is useless. But this is a man-made materialistic world. We need to be successful in this we can't say we don't want any of this, I'm just going to be satisfied, because that could be a selfish thought. But live in the present and understand, if you want to be happy in life, this is why I said I might have a different take on success at the beginning of this webinar, right? um, I'm glad I managed to somehow come here. So what I want to really tell everyone is that, if you want to really be happy in life, and that is the most important thing I think that everybody is looking for, find your success and don't lose out your satisfaction. Find the great mix, because the mix of somebody's success and the amount of how much of satisfaction they need in life could be different to you and I. You might have a different satisfaction in life, you, because your likes and wants and different things, right? And what you think what is success is different to mine. So but find your that amount of success that's going to make you satisfied. Find your mix and live in the present. Think of the present. If you just think of the future, you are living a dream. Don't just live. I know it's a very fashionable thing in the Western world to say, dream big, dream big. If you dream every day, you will only be a dreamer. You won't be living it. Come to earth, be humble, live in the present. Don't just live a dream. You know,
That's really a wonderful way
just
to.
don't, yeah, just don't think about, because we've heard those things so many times in the Western world, in this world where they had so much struggle to survive, right? These people came to us, who where we were so much more developed civilizations. We knew how to be satisfied. We had agriculture, we had food all year long, we had water all year long. We were not so greedy, and we had no seasons where we had to store and keep our seas. We didn't have a winter. We were flourished, we were full of resources. We are civilizations that built next to the river, right? We had water. But the Western countries, they always had a, a problem of survival. They had a winter, they had to store, they had to hunt in the summer, they had to be in a cave in the winter. So they had this mentality of survival of the fittest. So they had to kill each other, they had to rob each other. So that is why this whole survival of the fittest concepts came from the West. So that is why they had to think so much, worry about the future. They were worried about what they did in the past. But in a country like us, and in this region of India, Nepal, all of this Southeast Asia, we are so rich in life. We had we didn't have problems about food. We didn't have problems about our immediate needs. Our arts and our culture, our heritage was so rich because we had time to apply ourselves on those things. That's because these people, when in the past, we lived in the present. We did not have to think. So we were happy people. We were not telling each other, oh, we need to survive. This is the survival of the fittest. We never fought on, we didn't have to steal from others. So don't get these. So that's when these concepts of you have to dream to be successful. You need to have a dream, a vision, a mission, all that. To me, all that is a failure. And you can see today in the rest of the world, the whole Western world is collapsing. Their winter is finishing for their luck, and hopefully they will recover. But then look at this. We got a pandemic, and still, for our luck, we are still doing good. And look at our culture. We are cultured. Our end of the day, Sri Lankans have been very cultured in terms of being at home. We didn't have, we just had one president saying, okay, that's it, curfew for the whole country, you stay at home. And now it's working for us. But look at countries like Spain and Africa, they are failing miserably. USA having more than 350,000 cases, they still cannot lock down because they're so worried about their future. They are opening up the country. You see how the survival of the fittest concept in those countries, it's failing. So live in
Uh,
the present. Think what you can do for others. I hope I
yes, thank you so
went all
much.
about and made explain something. I hope you guys
Thank you
did not
so much. Thank you
misunderstand me.
so
I
much.
hope you understood that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And that was a really great way to wind up this session. So it's been 8:58, and we are really closer to the deadline as we need to make our excuse our cups and junior scouts. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, Mr. Dushyanth Weeraman. And if you could
No worries.
wind up this session with two lines of any song that you would like, it would be really great for us. It's just a fan request.
Okay. What do you think I should sing? Someone is saying heal the world. Oh, that's the
Uh,
host himself. Okay, you know what? Okay, I'll sing a song, but I want you guys to follow me on my page, and I've been actually doing a bit of charity because I just want to promote um everybody wanting to help somebody else, and whatever I've been doing was not just out of my pocket. There have been there we've got friends, many royalists helping out, and also people from the government and from the opposition, from all parties, with no barriers, no race or religion. They have been helping. So I would like everybody else also to support whatever we are doing, and also that is by spreading the word. Let's uh, heal Sri Lanka. Let's be there because we'll be moving on from one problem to another. Right now we are coming to a problem where there's going to be a shortage of food. So people who has a little bit something extra, some pocket money, some extra food, try to see whether you can share it and make this trendy in Sri Lanka. Let this be the next trend, next biggest trend. If any of my songs got popular, please guys, make this the popular song, a popular thing that I've ever done in my life. Make everybody wanted to give somebody else something that they need, right? So saying that, I think an ideal song would be heal the world. So
of course.
there's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. If you cry and see, in this place we cannot feel fear or dread. Stop existing and start living. There are fear that always love is lost for us growing. Make a better world, to make a better world. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Thank you, everyone. Make it a better place for you and for me.
Dushyanth Weeraman, everybody. Thank you so much, Dushyant. It's been a lovely
Thank you
evening
for
with
having
you.
me. It is
Thank you
fun.
so much.
I'm glad I was able to speak up.
Okay, Dushyant Weeraman. See you
All right,
next time.
cheers. All right, bye
Uh,
bye.
So it has been a wonderful session by Mr. Dushyanth Weeraman. Of course, the conclusion was so healing, and I would like to say, as a it's a bit of a housekeeping announcement. The Colombo Scout Youth Advisory Group is organizing the virtual Urdu the coming days. So await information on their official Facebook page. And thank you so much to Shakiraman for joining with us. Good night.
Good
And
night.
we'll be winding up this session from this moment. Signing out, Nilukshan Krishnaram from Sanskrit Colombo District Road Group. Good night. Stay home and stay safe.